Hello, today I'd like to talk about keeping backers happy. And Kickstarter is sort of an interesting beast, and I think, well, personally I think it's amazing, but I don't think anyone has quite figured out what it is and sort of what expectations there are for the project creator and what expectations there are for backers and things like that. And the backer project creator relationship is an interesting one. And it's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. Because, well, people have invested their money in me, and I want to make sure that they're happy. And so that's one of the reasons why I do very frequent, some people think perhaps too frequent, updates on Kickstarter and the developer diaries. I try and do about 3 a week. And then there's the inner circle, and I have all these different things. And if you haven't checked out the forum, you should definitely check out the forum. I read every single post on the forum and respond to, I don't know, probably like 90% of them. So I've definitely made myself very available to the community because I think that's really important. I think that's one of the appealing things about Kickstarters, because you're paying for something that is very nebulous, something that only exists here, and you're investing money in it, A, because you like the idea, but B, I think you want to participate. I think Kickstarter is about participating in a project, and some people, I mean, have different ideas and different levels of participation. I mean, I backed a lot of projects, and some of them, I just put my money in and I feel good about myself, and then I'm like, yes, I, helped make that happen. And then I don't, I'm not involved in the community. I don't, post on the forum, but then, other projects you may have a really big interest in, and you may want to help shape that. And I mean, certainly there's varying projects. Some creators really, put themselves out there and really make themselves available, and some it's a little less involved. And then of course there's the projects that just sort of fail, which I don't think will ever be considered a failure. I mean, we already have game stuff for people to play, the alpha backers. So I'm not really worried about that. But, I've backed a project or two that basically failed for whatever reason, and those are kind of messy, and I think to some extent a lot of it is about communication and about expectations and about trying to keep people involved. I think can really help these situations work out better. But anyway, one of the interesting things, and one of the things that I worry a lot about, is backer expectations for the game based on what I've put in the description. And to some extent this is a little bit different than worrying about consumers, because, like, obviously my number one goal is to make a great game, and I have to make the decisions that I feel support that will help Neverending Nightmares be great. But the interesting thing is when that maybe comes into conflict with potentially keeping backers happy. Like, for example, I talked about my scope fears and how, the branching narrative may not end up being quite as big of a part of the game as I had hoped. I mean, it's still important to me. I don't want to lose that, but I think as I've worked more on the game, as it's sort of the image of what the game is and should be is sort of solidifying. in my brain, I feel like that's the right decision, is to maybe put a little less emphasis on that, and a little more emphasis on creating, higher quality content than I was sort of expecting. But it's tough. It's tough to say that, that's a decision that every backer would be happy with. I mean, I suspect most of them will. I mean, I think to some extent that people are backing because they feel like, I know what I'm doing, and fingers crossed that I actually do know what I'm doing. But well, I've been at this for a while. I should hope I know what I'm doing. But there's that sort of trust, and I think to some extent the trust, the frequent communication is an important element to that trust. Like, the fact that I'm always posting updates and basically showing people what the game is like right now and where we're going, and I think that's really important, because I think, if I just, heads down silent and then release the game, I suspect, backers might be disappointed, because they might say, oh, we were expecting more branches, or we were expecting the game to be more like this, or you were saying, combat would be like this, and, they didn't hear the thought process and all the things that I've reconsidered, and, they weren't an active part of development. And so that's something I really think is important to a Kickstarter, and something that I would really encourage anyone thinking about kickstarting a project to do, is to really put yourself out there and really connect with the backers, because I think it's really important. And while, I mean, like, I guess one could say, oh, you took the money and then you're all set, but I think Kickstarter is really about more than money, and I've said this several times, but I think, Kickstarter has this great opportunity to give your project a community. We have a really strong community on the forums, and if you aren't on the forums, you should totally join, because it's really awesome. But that, is something that I would be a fool to not take advantage of. And that is an amazing resource for me as a game developer, both in terms of, spreading the word about the game, but also in terms of advice and help. And, I mean, frankly, I love reading the forums. I love the people who post on them. I consider them friends, which I guess is kind of weird, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, I'm friendly, they're friendly. I think they're friends. I enjoy reading what everyone posts. So, I mean, like, I think Kickstarter is great for me, because it's paying off on so many levels. But I feel like potentially, a lot of project creators aren't really thinking about, the full ramifications of doing a Kickstarter, because it's something that you have to budget a fair amount of time for. And I mean, I don't know, these videos get maybe 300 views tops, maybe 400. So, I mean, like, sometimes it's hard to say, well, I gotta take time to record the video and process it and blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, even if the audience isn't huge, I think that audience is very important. And I would hope to sort of grow the audience, and I think if you don't really stick with it, if you don't, keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you'll never grow your audience. You'll, lose the people you have, because you won't have any new content. So anyway, I probably rambled on for long enough, but I guess the summary, the executive summary, is that, I mean, Kickstarter backers are, awesome, and keeping them happy is something that I work very hard towards, and I think it's important that I work very hard towards, and I mean, there's amazing backers are just like, don't worry about me, I'm happy with whatever you do, but I do feel like it's important to, work towards making sure they're happy. because you know, these are the people who believe in this project and who are, you know, invested in its success. And so, you know, having their help making the game, getting the word out about the game, all of that stuff is really great and extremely helpful to me as a project creator. So thank you all backers, and I will continue to work hard towards making you happy.